This episode of the Big Rab Show Podcast is dedicated to the memory of the late Charlie Conway, who sadly passed away this past week. We want to send out our sincerest condolences to all of Charlie's family and friends at this sad time. He was a well-loved figure across the bagpiping world, but more notably here locally in Northern Ireland. He was a good friend of ours here in the Big Rab Show and was in attendance at quite a few of our live events, most notably in episode 100 when he did form part of the quiz team, and a queer bit of crack was had that night. Charlie would be sadly missed by all of us, and we dedicate this episode to his memory. The Big Rab Show Podcast is kindly sponsored by G1 Reeds. They are the champion's choice, with many bands around the world playing G1 products, providing everything you'd need to hit the circle or the big stage. So, check out g1reeds.com as they keep the lights on here at the Big Rab Show Podcast. Yes, indeed. Welcome to another episode of the Big Rab Show Podcast. How are you, folks? Yeah, the bagpiping world, whenever we received the news of the passing of Charlie Conway, the outpouring of love from across the scene has been incredible. You know, a lot of people might not know this, but in my day job, yes, I know podcasting isn't my day job, but in my day job, I used to work in an office building that Charlie used to work out of as well. And the pair of us would regularly meet pretty much every day. We would always catch up and chat away about bands. And before we know it, there's a couple of hours have passed and we go, oh, right, we have to actually go and do some work here now. I will desperately miss Charlie and his take on the bagpiping world, his thoughts on the musicality of it all, and his shouting at me across the car park, "Well, young Rab, what's the story this week?" He'd be sorely missed by us all. And again, I want to send out my sincerest condolences to Pipe Major Emmett Conway and to all of the family circle at this time. He will be sorely missed by all of us. Again, the outpouring of love online, I have to say, and the stories that have been shared are just incredible. Charlie has left quite a legacy, and he will be very sorely missed by all of us. But as Charlie would have wanted, absolutely, he would have wanted us to continue going and keep the show flying, you know. And what's the story this week, young fella? So let's get into the story of this week. The title of this week's episode kind of gives it away, kinda. Yeah, we're going to get into that in this week's topic, of course. But first of all, let's get through our introductions. Yeah, if this is your first ever Big Rab Show podcast, then you are welcome. We are the show for the bagpiping folk. We reflect everything in the bagpiping world, be it Celtic music, folk music, or indeed our bread and butter, which is competitive piping and drumming. Each and every week we're here talking about what we know and love to be the music of the Great Highland Bagpipe and its people. And like every other podcast out there, we do have a Patreon. Yep, where you can go and click on support and get your mitts on loads of extras. And trust me, there's a pile of extras back there. And if anything, you're going to want to catch up on this week's Fuse FM Ballymoney radio show. Yeah, last night we had such a great show playing all sorts of amazing music from the New Zealand Nationals. It was such a great episode where we kind of get into the weeds with it, with the Nationals, going through it result by result and performance by performance. Such a great show. And a good number of you actually from New Zealand were tuned in live. So it was absolutely brilliant to have you joining in live. Thank you, folks. But if you did happen to miss it last night, then it is up there now on our Patreon page. So go and click on support and you can get your mitts on that. Yeah. Some real blistering good music was played in New Zealand, and we'll get into that in the news and updates. But seriously, New Zealand Nationals, man, unbelievable. All right. Well, with each and every Big Rab show, we do open the door to listener mail, and this week is no different. Our email address has never changed, bigrabshow@gmail.com. That address again, bigrabshow@gmail.com. Yes, we want to know your thoughts and feelings, warts and all. And we've got a couple of emails in from folks talking about Rab Reacts. Yeah, I got one in here from Jonathan. It says, "Hi, Big Rab. You mentioned Rab Reacts and it returning to YouTube. What kind of videos do you want? Because I have a lot of video nasties for you." And a wee smiley face. Jonathan, no video nasties, please. Whatever that is, it doesn't sound nice. I don't know who Jonathan is. But yeah, we are looking for videos of a bagpiping variety. Now, last week when we did mention Rab Reacts, we did get a few video clips that were sent to us of a bagpiping variety, but unfortunately we'd already reacted to them. Yeah, one was to Punjabi bagpiping, and another one was to a movie clip called The Devil's Rejects. I think that was it, where it was "Here Come the Canadians," and this Canadian military pipe band marched on. We've already reacted to those, unfortunately. They are quite common, and we are finding, videos like the Bad Piper and the Flaming Drones and stuff. Yeah, but a lot of those videos come through and, asked us to react to them. So, we are in the process of trying to put together some more episodes of Rab Reacts. We're just looking for videos that we haven't seen before. So, if you do have your own particular clips, please no video nasties like Jonathan suggested, email us through bigrabshow@gmail.com. That address again, bigrabshow@gmail.com. And we'll do our best to get Rab Reacts off, off and running. But with a bit of luck, here's hoping. All right, so we did get other correspondence, I guess, on the topic of piping posers. A lot of people not wanting their email read out, however, but it does seem to be the case that a lot of people are aware of piping posers out there. If you don't know what I'm talking about, well, go back and listen to last week's episode where we did delve into what we believe a piping poser would be and how it could be damaging to the bagpiping world. Anyway, so yes, thank you to those folks who did send us in emails to that regard, but you didn't want your emails read out, so I will respect your wishes and not read them out. However, there's quite a few entertaining stories in there, so if you do change your mind, let us know and we can share that with our listeners. That's all I'm going to say. All right. Well, another way that you can share your story, I guess, without being identified, weekly drone. We'll get into that now, I guess. That's it for listener mail. If you do have a story or anything like that you don't want your name attached to, all right? I do know a lot of people don't like to email us because sometimes I give names, like Jonathan's there. I don't have Jonathan's surname, so I don't know who it is. You can send us in your own story, warts and all, without fear of recrimination or identification. And, send it in to us. TheBigRabShow.com, big button at the top of the page says Weekly Drone. Let us know your thoughts and feelings on all things bagpiping. And, there's no names or identifying factors. It's just an open microphone for you guys to vent. So, I believe we have some Weekly Drones this week. Yeah. So, JD, I believe we have one talking about bagpiping posers, have we?
It's the Weekly Drone.
Piping posers? I think the very worst of humanity exists on bagpipe sales groups on Facebook. It's not the fine folks who are legitimately selling their things on the groups and taking payment properly, shipping on time, etc. No, it's the insane amount of posers who steal photos to try to scam people out of money. That in itself is its own pandemic. It has become far too common to spot posers trying to rip off the kind-hearted and good-natured people in our fair community, and I'm sick of it. 10 times out of 10, it's buyer beware. Perhaps it's time for administrators of those groups to take responsibility and do something about it. Food for thought.
Ah, yes. Weekly Droner, you are absolutely on the money with that one. Yeah, couldn't agree more. I have seen a lot of this on social media, especially on those Facebook marketplace groups. Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about, where you would see this absolutely fantastic set of pipes. They could be silver mounted, they could be a vintage set as well. Wow, they look absolutely amazing. The photographs look fantastic. And the price of them as well is very tempting. You're thinking, ooh, that's a good price for that set of pipes. I might actually go and buy that. But yeah, my advice is exactly what our weekly droner has suggested. Buyer beware. Please do not buy straight off a marketplace without at least asking some additional questions about the set that you're purchasing. Don't just take it on, an assumption that the seller on the other end of those photographs is completely legit, because there has been occasions where, the set doesn't exist. Instead, they take your money and then nothing happens. You don't get anything in the mail, and if you ask for a refund, then of course that doesn't happen either. Yeah. And if you are chasing refunds for a purchase made on Facebook Marketplace, we've heard of various different reports, not just Facebook Marketplace, but also the likes of eBay and things like that, that do sell second-hand instruments, that, their refund process has been quite terrible. And once you've made that purchase, then that's it. It's in the lap of the gods, really. So yeah, buyer beware. Some of the sets that you will see for sale on those Facebook Marketplace groups and stuff, sometimes if it's too good to be true, 9 times out of 10 it possibly is too good to be true. Yeah. I have to say, though, yes, you made a recommendation that the leaders of those groups have a responsibility for policing such advertisements. Yes, I can see that. I can understand it. But as to how they would actually achieve that, I'm not entirely sure. Our recommendation is, however, that if you were to start looking about second-hand instruments, is to go to a website that we've featured here on the show before. I would go to bagpipecentral.com. We've featured this website on the show before. It's a fantastic resource for second-hand instruments. They do have a proper appraisal service where they can verify that the instrument is what it say it is, that if there is any damage, they can say, well, yes, there's a cracked stock or something, or be completely honest about the sale. To say, we're asking for this price because there's a cracked stock, for example. And not just like posting a picture-perfect set of pipes and then what you get in the mail is a box full of sticks. Yeah. So bagpipecentral.com absolutely is our recommendation if you are considering buying a second-hand set of bagpipes. Now, that's not just for folks in the US or Canada, but also for here in the UK. There's listings there too. Just simply because of that safety net of the appraisal system that they have. Yeah. All the sales there are 100% verifiable that the instrument you see on their website is the instrument that you will receive. And if that doesn't happen, there is all sorts of safeguards there so that you won't lose the money that you spend and, don't receive an instrument, for example. So there's all sorts of great safeguards there for purchases through bagpipecentral.com. You just about talk. Fantastic website. We've featured it on the show before, and if anyone's ever asking about second-hand instruments, that would be my first protocol, would be bagpipecentral.com. There you are. I know that sounds like a giant advertisement, but it is what it is. Thank you, Weekly Droner. A very interesting topic, that one. Yeah, and definitely, I agree. Buyer beware whenever you're considering buying second-hand instruments online. Please don't buy off of eBay or Facebook Marketplace without asking additional questions about the instrument. That's our advice. All right. That was a good drone, that one. JD, have we got any more?
It's the weekly drone. Piping poser? Every one of us in the world are piping posers. We look great in our band uniform, and we play the loudest instrument on the planet so that Joe Public has no choice but to listen to us. Everyone says, "The hair on my arms stands on end when I hear the pipes." We are the center of attention with our kilts on and pipes under our arm at weddings, functions, and competitions, and we love it. We are all piping posers. Look at me, listen to me.
Okay, Weekly Droner. Yeah, I guess I could take my lumps on that one. Yeah, we do play one of the loudest instruments on the planet. And yeah, it's very difficult not to have that limelight for that very reason. So, piping poser, okay, yep, I can take that explanation. That's a couple of drones talking about piping posers now. One that was really useful and another one that just kind of pointed out the obvious. Yeah, absolutely. We're just suckers for attention, aren't we? Are we all piping posers in that regard? I suppose when you look at it that way, then yeah, I suppose we probably are. Anyway, let's move on swiftly from that one. Thank you, Weekly Droner. That was fun. All right, let's get another one then, JD. Have we got another one on the shelf?
It's the Weekly Drone.
Pipe band Tourette's. Rab, it really annoys me when you bump into folk at contests who ask the same stupid BS questions. It's like pipe band Tourette's. Are you still with X Band? Yeah, I've got the full uniform on, duh. What time are you in at? How did you play today? How's the band going? Stop asking these questions. No one cares.
Oh, Weekly Droner. I think you're taking words out of my mouth here. I admit it. I have asked every single one of those questions at least more than once at a competition. But it's because I genuinely want to know. You know, I would not normally engage in small talk. Oh, it's queer weather the day, isn't it? Ah, lovely day. I don't normally get into that kind of stuff. I do normally say, oh, it's good to see you. Well, are you still playing with those guys? Yeah, okay. If they wear the uniform, then fair enough. I don't normally ask that question. But yeah, the common questions on the day of a contest would be, have you competed yet? When are you on the line? You know, because I'm genuinely wanting to get across to see them play, you know? And then, of course, if they've already played, then I want to know what they thought about it. You know, well, how'd you go? Did you like it? You know, was there anybody cross when they come off the line? Was anybody furious? Were they all happy? Yeah, these are all questions, I have to admit, I hold my hands up, I have asked more than once. So, Weekly Droner seems to believe that no one cares. Unfortunately, I'm one of those people that do. So, I don't know, does that make me sad? Or that, I don't know. But, yeah, it's a question I always frequently ask people, especially those that are competing. You know, I want to know about their competitive day. I want to know how it went. Or is it about to happen? Or has it just happened? Etc. Yes, is it bagpiping Tourette's? I don't know. I don't know if that term is correct, I guess. I know the connotation that you're after, you know, where everyone's asking the same question over and over and over again, and it does get very old very quick. Yes, I can see that. But will I stop asking it? Probably not. Just because I'm one of those weird people that are generally interested, I guess. Anyway, does anyone else out there ask those questions as well as me? You know? Or do you really get into the small talk, talking about the weather? Oh, here, it's a fine day for today, but sun coming over the hills, and it's a crisp day, mind you. It's nice and cold, or sort of half cold, but not all the way cold, like a wee bit warm, but not all the way warm, you know. Yep, wee bit misty, it's a wee bit Right, you get my point? That kind of talk can go on for hours. And that's one of those things us Northern Irish seem to be really gifted in. Mindless small talk. We can talk about anything for hours. I don't know. The colour of grass, for example. That's a good green, that grass, isn't it? Oh, no, it's kind of off green. Why is it off green? Maybe the soil isn't right, you know. Maybe it hasn't got enough water or that. Water? If you put too much water in grass, it turns another kind of weird green. What do you mean weird green? Do you see the kind of green that gets too much rain? You get my point? You get my point. There you go. Yeah. Point well made. Yes, piping Tourette's, don't know. But yeah, do you engage in the small talk? Do you engage in the piping Tourette's, as that Weekly Droner just mentioned? Yeah, I'd be interested to know. Wow, I kind of went off down a tangent there, didn't I? About small talk at competitions. Yikes. But there we go. Yeah. bigrabshow@gmail.com. Or, of course, you can send in your own weekly drone, which is, our website, thebigrabshow.com. Big button at the top of the page. Yeah, you can let us know. All your thoughts and feelings, of course, warts and all, as you just heard. We'll tackle any topic here on the show. And, bring it for you guys' entertainment, of course. There you are. Alright, well, with listener mail and weekly drone out of the road, it's time to get into all of the news and updates, of which there are plenty, as always. So, I'm going to get myself a wee break at this point, and I'll be right back with all of those news and updates.
Do you wish piping could be fun again? Bagpipers around the world continue to struggle with their instrument, despite hours of hard work trying to get better. Bagpiping should be fulfilling. Your hard work should pay off, showing improvement and the freedom to express yourself musically. Or why do it? The Dojo University believe every piper should be able to free themselves from musical frustration, proven over more than a decade of successful teaching and accessible anywhere with an internet connection. The Dojo is unlike any other bagpipe learning experience in the world. Let the Dojo channel your enthusiasm into a fun and fulfilling program that will empower you with the knowledge to fall in love with piping all over again. So go to dojouniversity.com/Big Rab and take advantage of our 30-day free trial of Dojo Premium membership. Join the global community of students today and rediscover the fun of bagpiping. dojouniversity.com/Big Rab for a 30-day free trial.
Ready to take your playing to the next level? Say hello to the ES Session Chanter, the ultimate practice chanter designed for versatility and durability. Crafted from stainless steel and aluminium, the chanter comes equipped for both an A stem and a B flat stem, giving you the freedom to play along with any instrument, anytime, anywhere. Whether at a band practice or a trad session, the ES Session Chanter keeps pace with your creativity. Included with the chanter is the custom carbon carry case, the perfect addition to this compact and tactile instrument. To get yours, head to essessionchanter.co.uk. Okay, let's get into all the news and updates. Now, of course, you knew rightly I was going to lead with what we witnessed over the weekend, the New Zealand Nationals. Now, whenever I was preparing for this and to talk about the Nationals, I really struggled to find a word to describe what we witnessed at the New Zealand Nationals. Seriously, we've mentioned this on previous shows that the standard in New Zealand is continuing to rise. Well, it got even better this year, and it really pickles my brain as to just how good can it get. It's ridiculous. So, yeah, I have to say, before we get into all of the results and stuff grade by grade, I have to say, the music on display here, not just in the top flight, your grade 1s and 2s, but in all of the grades. Like, day one of the Nationals was just blistering. Some of the music on offer in 4A and grade 3 as well really was just fantastic. So, yeah, I have to say, though, full credit to the production team behind the scenes that made such an incredible event accessible for all of us internationally. I know just how difficult it is to put on a production like this with so many different moving parts and everything. Honestly, it was so well presented. If you didn't manage to catch the New Zealand Nationals, of course, you can go back and watch all of it now on replay on their YouTube channel. All 9 hours from both days is available now on their YouTube channel. You can go back and watch all of it. Now, yes, unfortunately, I did miss some portions of day one, so I did have to rewatch it again. But yeah, managed to catch all of day 2, staying up to the wee hours until we crowned our champions. And I have to say, I loved every moment of it. Yeah. Now, let's talk about one of my favourite elements of the competition, which was the Street March competition. Now, whenever this kicked off, I have to say the conditions were absolutely awful. It was terrible. It was absolutely thumping it down with rain. And to see our grade 4A and 4B bands parading in that, my heart went out to them. They just look absolutely drenched, and I am so glad that they made the decision to call off the rest of the competition until the weather passed. So, yeah, our grade 4A and 4B bands, they had to compete in that madness, and full credit to all of you who did so. Well done. I think all of you who managed to play tunes in that, you definitely deserve a prize, for sure. Yikes. If anybody doesn't know what I'm talking about, go and watch it back again. Seriously, I've never seen conditions like it. It was awful. But then it did manage to clear up on the day, and then we had all sorts of great piping then for day 2 from the field itself. So, yeah. Let's talk about the results, shall we? Our juvenile New Zealand champions on the day, St Andrews College. Yes, well done. I have to say, that juvenile grade was real bitter competition in there, I have to say. Not one of those bands in there was just phoning it in. Yeah, pretty stiff competition there, but come out deserved champions there, St Andrews College. Well done. Grade 4B champions then are the ILTs, City of Invercargill. They were locals on the day, of course, and got quite a huge cheer from the crowd. So, hey, well done. Grade 4B champions. Grade 4A then went to the Metro Scottish Pipe Band, who genuinely, I really enjoyed their competition set. I thought well controlled, great tone, just really producing the goods, and really, really loved it. If you haven't seen it yet, go back and have a watch at it. But yeah, congratulations to the Metro Scottish. On to Grade 3. Now, as I mentioned, Grade 3, that was not an easy competition to do an armchair judge for, I have to say. You know, as I was rewatching it here at home, I did sit with, a bit of pen and paper and trying to give my own thoughts as to who I thought. But I honestly couldn't pick. I just couldn't do it. But our judges managed to, and congratulations to the Hamilton Caledonian Pipe Band. Come out as New Zealand champions at 2025. Fantastic. So, well done. Well deserved, honestly. And, I think our judges in that one, yikes, they had a job on their hands. The standard in Grade 3 there in New Zealand was just really, really high. So, well done to everyone involved. Okay, let's get a little bit more into the detail, I guess, with the results and everything with Grade 2. Yeah, our champions, of course, were the St Andrews College Pipe Band. Yes, well done. Not to be confused with the St Andrews Pipe Band from Brisbane. Yeah, that was kind of confusing. Now, as we were watching the live stream on the day, thankfully, the commentators online were able to clarify this. Said, yes, there are 2 bands in the same grade called St Andrews. One is the college, one is from Brisbane. All right. So, yeah, I have to say, the St Andrews Pipe Band from Brisbane, they play... Right, I'm going to mention this. No one has been able to answer this question yet, but they played a set of tunes marching up to the line for the medley competition, and the MSR too. But I have never heard it before. Never have I heard this tune played before, but I am really super interested to find out what that tune was. Yeah, because it was filled with everything. There was all sorts of bagpipe and fireworks in this. There was slides, there was cuts, there was 3-part harmonies, It was incredibly dense and a really, really interesting tune to play on the walk, and I would very much like to hear more of it. The unfortunate thing was, it was played in the march up to the line, and we only really got to hear a little snippet of it, maybe half a part, before the PM said, that's enough, pipes down. Yeah, so and by that time I was going, ooh, that's a cracking good tune, and then, they stopped playing it. So, anyone out there who knows what that tune was, the St Andrews Pipe Band from Brisbane played up to the line, please let us know. I'm very keen to hear more of that, even if there is a recording of it out there. Absolutely, please let me know. But yes, I have to say, the St Andrews Pipe Band from Brisbane, their medley selection was just... Man, it was unbelievable. And I have to say, the St Andrews College folks as well absolutely played out of their skin. Yeah, and deserved champions, by the way, yes. So the St Andrews College, of course, won the MSR and medley competition on the day, with the drumming then overall going to the Pipe Band Club from Sydney. Yes, brilliant to see them in the circle. Of course, after we caught up with them at the World Championships last year, they certainly haven't dropped their form. If anything, they've only succeeded in increasing it. Yeah, it was really, really enjoyable listening to the Pipe Band Club. So many great tunes. And also, shout out to the Celtic Pipe Band from Nelson. also thumped out a big tune. Really enjoyed their piping, especially in their medley run. And also the city of Tauranga. Apparently, I have been absolutely pronouncing that name wrong. Tauranga. There you go. Pipe band. That Grade 2 championship in there. Yes, I am very glad to see that it's very similar to what we have here in the UK. The Grade 2 there in New Zealand is the ridiculous grade. All right? Competition in there is absolutely fierce. So, yeah, just a lot of great music. Go back and have a watch at it for sure. But, yeah, congratulations to our New Zealand national champions, St Andrews College. Definitely well-deserved. Very enjoyable. All right, moving on to Grade 1. Of course, all 6 bands in here definitely worth their salt, I have to say. But, yes, our overall champions. And to quote their social media post, they finally did it. Go on, the Manawatu! Yes, Manawatu Scottish finally has lifted a national championship. Yeah. For the longest time now, Canterbury Caledonian have been defending champions each year. So, it finally happened. Manawatu Scottish on MSR preference managed to pip them to the post, I guess. Yeah. And the MSR, of course, went to Manawatu. Second was Canterbury. And then in the medley actually went to Canterbury. Yeah, with Manawatu finishing in runner-up there. So, MSR preference managed to put them past the post. Yeah. Shows how important MSR competitions can be, you know? So, yeah, honestly, I know some people sometimes skip over the MSR competitions whenever it comes to big championships like this, but honestly, do take time to watch them. There's some really interesting music being played there. And, Manawatu's MSR was just on fire. I don't know what it was. They were just on form and just thumped out a big tune. I have to say some other notable mentions were, well, possibly one of my favourite medley selections on the day. Spoke about this on Fuse last night and created a bit of a stir when I played it. But yeah, the Hawthorne Pipe Band. Yeah. Of course, now they've been in the grade now for about a year or so now. So, that medley selection that they played, absolutely brilliant. I'm a huge fan of it. Honestly, shout out to the Hawthorne, managing to finish third in the medley selection overall, and third overall as a result. Yeah, just real strong, great performance there. And also another thing that really stood out, honestly, was the reappearance of the New Zealand Police Pipe Band. It's been too long since that band has been in the circle, and it was just fantastic to see them back again. Now, granted, they did finish up bottom of the pile in both the medley and MSR, but regardless, it was still great to see that band back in the circle thumping out tunes again. Has been a long time since they've been in there, so it's brilliant to see them return. So, I have to say, full congratulations to the mighty Manawatu. What a weekend it was, I have to say. But also to all bands in that Grade 1 circle. Yikes is all I'll say. The standard, I don't know, I keep talking about the standard, but honestly, it's the big thing that came across, is that it just seems to be getting better and better and showing no signs of slowing. And I'm very excited to see if any of these bands will be heading to the World Championships. Yeah, we already do know that there's quite a number of them that will be there. So, yeah, very much looking forward to seeing a lot of our New Zealand bands heading to the big one this year in Glasgow. I dare say they'll be a force to be reckoned with. Absolutely. You know, listening to tunes from the likes of Invercargill, Auckland and District, Hawthorne that I just mentioned, Canterbury, of course, and our New Zealand champions, Manawatu. Come on. These bands can definitely hold their own, and I am very, very keen to see where they will shake down as the UK season opens its doors. Yeah. So again, I have to say a huge congratulations to Liam Kernahan, of course, everyone there at the RNZ PBA, to their backroom team, the production crew, to everyone, all of the competitors in the circle. What an event that was. I know I've kind of waxed lyrical about how amazing it is. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, by the way, it is up there. You can go and watch it on their YouTube channel right now. You can watch it all back. And trust me, you will not regret it. That will be time very well spent to watch all of that great music. We played a good lot of it on Fuse last night, and we did kind of get into the weeds a bit, you know, into the intricacies of some of those medley selections. And, we'll probably do more of that in future shows. Whew, what a great weekend of piping in New Zealand it was. Seriously. And, just full congratulations to everybody involved, including our national champions, Manawatu. Yeah, let's move on. Oh, and did I neglect to mention, did anybody spot the little cameo that might have been there at the start of the Grade 1 competition at the Nationals? That's all I'm going to say. But there was a little special guest on there. Yeah, that was seriously a huge amount of fun. That's all I'm going to say. Go back and have a watch at it. Let's say this. It was the wee small hours, and that person might have been delirious, but had so much fun. Anyway, go and check it out. It's up there now on the RNZ PBA YouTube channel. Yeah, a lot of fun. Okay, also this past weekend, of course, on Sunday, was the Scottish Schools Pipe Band Championships. Now, this one honestly was pegged as one of the biggest in recent records. If anything, looking at the numbers from this, it's kind of ridiculous. Yeah, so this all took place Sunday, March 9th, of course, and we talked about it on the previous podcast as we were promoting this event. 94 bands were playing at this. Seriously? 94 bands from 144 different schools, and they all competed across 8 different categories. Yeah. Now, they were showcasing things from both the traditional world, the regular competitive stuff, but also some contemporary new stuff, as well as possibly one of my favorite things, which was the freestyle category. And yeah, they weren't messing here. Some of the performances on offer in all of these categories were just... they were just insane, just how good these kids were, man. It was, like, unbelievable. I spent the weekend watching the Nationals, and then I started seeing video clips coming through from the Scottish Schools Championships, and thinking to myself, am I watching the Nationals again? Is this the Grade 1 from the National? No, it isn't. It was very confusing, because, again, the standard, but these kids could absolutely thump a tune, man. Seriously. So fair play to all of you. Wow. So let's get into the results from the competition. I have to say, well done to the freestyle winners. Now, I did have to reach out to find out how to pronounce your name correctly, because it is Scots Gaelic. I'm not a native Gaelic speaker, so I could just about speak Ulster Scots, never mind English. But I believe the pronunciation of the correct term of your name for your band is Skál va a Castile. Probably absolutely wrong, but yeah, congratulations to our freestyle winner, Skál va a Castile. Well done. So yeah, that was the freestyle event, which honestly was one of the highlights for me. Go back and have a watch at it. One of the particular highlights from that actually was Preston Lodge. Their freestyle, but anyway, seriously good fun, and a lot of the kids really seem to have a lot of good crack doing that, by the way. So yeah, there are video clips all across the place, all over the socials. A lot of these schools did publish that on their socials, so a lot of great music to enjoy from these kids. The juvenile section winner then was George Watson's College. Yes, well done. Second place was Dollar. Third was George Heriot's. Novice A then went to George Watson's College. Well done. Novice Juvenile B went to George Watson's College. Not bad. On to Junior A, which, I wasn't aware of this category, but apparently it does exist within the Scottish school system, and I learned a lot about this, and there was a lot of good bands competing in here that have never competed before. So, yeah, winning the Junior A category was Fettes College. Yes, well done. Second place was Morrison's Academy. Junior B then went to the Glasgow Academy, and the second place finisher there was the High Life Highland Pipe Band. There you are. So I'm discovering a lot of new bands through this as well. Also, the Junior C competition, there was a joint first in this. Yeah, it went to the Isle of Arran Music School and to Kinrossshire Schools. Yeah, there you go. So I have to say there was all sorts of different categories. I'm not going to mention them all. But one final mention, there was a quartet competition as part of this as well, and the winner there was the East Dunbartonshire Schools. There you are. So for full listings on who won what and where, I have to say go to bagpipe.news. All of those listings there, giving everyone a good shout. Yeah, what an amazing event that was. You know, seriously. We've spoke about it on the previous pod when we talked all about the work of the trust and everything and the organisation of this competition. But giving these young kids such a huge platform to play on and compete on, and the music that was on offer here, just... Wow. So if you do have a chance to catch any of those school performances, please do take time to watch them. They are absolutely brilliant. And full credit to all of the kids involved and to all the tutors as well. And to all the background teams for all these bands, I'm sure, that made all this magic happen. I'm sure it wouldn't happen overnight. So yeah, full congratulations to everybody involved there at the Scottish Schools Pipe Band Championships. What an amazing event. 94 bands. Do I need to keep repeating that? 94 bands. That's on par with like a major championship, you know? And 144 schools represented. That is huge. So we're definitely going to be keeping across this event in future, because I'm sure it's only ever going to improve and get larger. So yeah, well done, everyone involved. What a fantastic event. I tell you, it's been a busy weekend for piping and drumming, you know? The nationals, the Scottish schools. Whew. Okay, I have to give a little mention to some local stories here in Northern Ireland, where our own RSPBA Northern Ireland branch has been thumping out the announcements this last while. Well, just today, at the point of me recording this, is the announcement on the Ulster Solos. Yes, we've been waiting on details on this one. So yes, we finally have a venue confirmed. It's all going to be taking place on the 12th of April in Cookstown High School. Yes, Ulster Solos. And for all your details, along with your entry requirements and all that kind of stuff, it's up there now on the RSPBA NI website. Go and check it out. Also, details are up there now about the Indoor Pipe Band Championship that we've been waiting to hear more about. Yeah, hosted by the County Antrim section. Yes, this is going to be held in the Park Hall Integrated College on the 26th of April. Yeah, again, for full information, including all of your entry requirements, up there now on the RSPBA Northern Ireland website. It's quite interesting to see the return of indoor competitive piping and drumming from a band perspective. So, yeah, looking forward to that one. That's going to be exciting. Also, locally here in Northern Ireland, I have to give a mention to The Force. Yes, The Force Drum Major Display Team have been putting out announcements across their socials about, well, they're going to be travelling. And we've mentioned this on previous shows, of course, for those of you who remember. They're going to Nova Scotia. Yes, to be part of the Nova Scotia Tattoo. They're also going to New York as part of New York Tartan Week. And yeah, they're also going to Ellis Island as well for an opportunity out there as well. So, hey, loads of opportunities to see all sorts of great drum majoring action thanks to The Force. So, yeah, wish them well on their travels. But, yeah, just at the point of us recording it here tonight, I have to say The Force has announced another member of their team. In fact, another new member of their elite team. Shout out to Louise Smighton, yes, who is the current juvenile world champion. Yeah, amongst other accolades as well in her tenure. So, yeah, shout out to Louise. Now, she's been appearing with The Force this last while at a few little events here and there, but now she is officially a member of The Force Drum Major Display Team. So, full congratulations to Louise. And, yeah, I believe she'll be joining them on their upcoming trips across the Atlantic. So, hey, for any fans of drum majoring, honestly, go and check out theforce.events. And yeah, all the details are up there now about their upcoming travels, along you can meet the full team and other kind of interesting things on their website, along with tuition and stuff. So yeah, very interesting venture there, The Force. So yeah, just a shameless plug, I know, but definitely go and check them out. And congratulations to Louise Smighton, the latest elite team member of the Force Drum Major Display Team. Okay, now, I'm not going to get into hashtag list here in the news and updates. That's for this week's topic. But, yeah, this week, of course, is St. Patrick's Day week. You know, this weekend, there's so many gigs all across the globe, I have to say. Not just even locally here in Ireland, but everywhere. We're seeing tons of pipe bands, especially in the US, announcing all sorts of tour dates and stuff, where bands are playing, like, I don't know, upwards of 8-9 gigs in the space of 3 days, which is insane. I don't know how you are going to do it, but anyway, I just wanted to say we're doing our best to keep across all of those updates as they come through, and they're coming through thick and fast. So rather than us read a hashtag list of all of these dates and the various bands, our advice is to get onto the Big Rab Show on social media, and we'll do our best to keep you updated of those announcements as they appear. Bringing it locally here to Northern Ireland, of course, Belfast Tradfest are running all sorts of celebrations over this St. Patrick's Day weekend, and they have tons of piping and drumming on offer. They have workshops, of course. They have a solo piping competition, which we mentioned last week, where the winner of that actually goes to represent Ireland and the Lorient Festival. Yeah. I think it's the McCrimmon. Yeah. There's so much other piping and drumming. I'm just going to gloss it over. Honestly, if you are interested in what's happening, then go to Belfast Tradfest. There's tons of tickets available for all the gigs. Way too many to mention, but honestly, a serious amount of Highland piping and drumming on offer as part of the St. Patrick's Day celebrations here in Ireland. Yeah, also there's quite a number of pipe bands actually that are involved in St. Patrick's Day celebrations across the Atlantic. Yeah. So just wanted to give a full shout out to all of those guys who are already out there in the United States and playing gigs already. Yeah, full credit to you all, I have to say. And yeah, we've been sharing out those performances as we see them. So yeah, just well done to everyone who is preparing for or has already started your St. Patrick's Day celebrations. And yeah, just excited to see more, I guess. If your band has any gigs and that coming up as part of St. Patrick's Day, please do share it with us, of course, and we'll do our best to help you promote it. bigrabshow@gmail.com is our address. And yeah, we'll do our best to share out those details as we get them. There you go. All right, let's move on. All right, I have to give a mention this week to Closkelt Pipe Band. I'm sure by now you've probably already seen the clips of the band performing at the Drumloch Pipe Band 75th anniversary concert this past weekend. Yeah, so as we were preparing for the New Zealand Nationals and all of that happening online, Drumloch Pipe Band were throwing a massive concert at the Hillsborough Presbyterian Church, which drew a massive crowd too. I have to say, the piping on display here from, the likes of Ian Burrows, Scott Wallace, and others was just absolutely brilliant. The Drumloch Pipe Band themselves, of course, were there in action and were sounding but I have to say, Closkelt. First of all, have you seen their new drums? Oh my word, they look amazing. Yeah, a full new set of Andante snares and bass and tenor. Oh man, they look amazing. Yeah, I know I keep interrupting myself, but I'm excited for good reason. The tunes that Closkelt played at this concert was just... they'd take your breath away, honestly. The tone on offer here was one of the things that really hit me between the eyes. Yeah, Closkelt absolutely thumped out a tune. So full credit to everybody there at Closkelt Pipe Band. You sounded amazing. And well done to Drumloch Pipe Band, by the way. What a way to celebrate their 75th anniversary. I've heard nothing but good reports. And also they managed to raise a ton of money for charity as well, for the air ambulance service as well. So yeah, shout out to Drumloch Pipe Band. Congratulations on 75 years. And of course to Closkelt Pipe Band, who has some pretty sweet new drums. And yeah, very keen to hear more. Let's say that. If you haven't seen those clips or all the rest, where have you been? But be sure to be getting on the Rab Show socials. I know, another shameless plug. Go and have a listen to Closkelt. Oh boy. Also, this past weekend, I have to give a mention to International Women's Day. Now, we did mention it on our pod last week. And yeah, give a shout out to all of our amazing women in our piping scene. Well, I have to say, the reflection of everyone in the bagpiping world celebrating women in our scene was just brilliant. All right, I'll say it. It was fantastic. So many posts all across social media just championing women in piping and drumming. And it was so fantastic. I have to give a mention, but in particular, to pipesdrums.com, who had all sorts of great content across their Instagram account that was turned into, eventually, a video where everyone that they could possibly get on camera give their thoughts and opinions on International Women's Day and, of course, women in piping and drumming and what could be done to possibly better reflect more women in piping and drumming. So, honestly, was so fantastic. Well done to pipesdrums.com. That was really, really fun, actually, to, just follow along. So, oh, there's another post up. Let's watch it. Oh, there's another video up. Let's watch it. Yeah, it was just really, really cool. And to everyone who did put up posts across their socials or along International Women's Day, it was just brilliant to watch it all. Yeah, so absolutely, we're all for it. We did champion our own Big Rab Show team members, of course, women who do keep us all right here, of course. Victoria Smighton, to Lee Smighton, and of course to Alicia Dixon-Hamilton, of course, who do manage to keep us on the straight and narrow, all those fellas. Aye, so yeah, absolutely. Let's celebrate the women in our piping scene and, yeah, encourage more women to take up the instrument, I guess. Yeah, indeed. Okay, going to briefly mention it, but of course I have to talk about it, the Pacific Rim Solo Drumming Championship. We mentioned it in previous podcasts, talking all about it and how it was coming up, and of course what was on offer here. Pre-Worlds qualification spots as well as the J. Reid Maxwell Medal. Well, Yeah, overall winner on the day was Blair Brown. So congratulations. Walked away with $1,000 in his sparring for his trouble, but also walking away with that J. Reid Maxwell medal. Honestly, what a fantastic competition. We've seen plenty of recordings from it, actually, online. And, one of the highlights for me was Eric McNeil's MSR run. Yeah, go and have a watch at that. But also, shout out to Eli Fugit, of course, from St. Lawrence Tool. He also played a real blister in tune, too. Two particular highlights of mine. I've yet to see the performance from Blair, mind you. But, yeah, full credit to you, Blair. Congratulations on winning the overall prize there at the Pacific Rim competition. Well done. We are starting to see, little recordings here and there. There are those that we have still to see. But, yeah, just a fantastic competition all round, I have to say. There are other grades and other age groupings and everything. I'm just going to briefly move on, I guess, because there's so much to get through with that competition. It was huge. But for full listings and all of your prize lists and everything, go to pipesdrums.com. They've published a full article on the event itself. And, delve into all of it. Yeah, there you are. But congratulations to our champion, Blair Brown. Now, speaking of pipesdrums.com, all right, we've mentioned them a couple of times now on the show. Well, they have published an article following the RSPBA annual general meeting. Oh, yeah, it's taken us until this stage in the show to talk about it. Now, last week, we talked about the AGMs coming up and how we were excited for a couple of possible rule changes that have been put forward by Closkelt Pipe Band. They actually had made it through the branch stage and had made its way to the headquarters stage, which meant that it was going in front of all of the membership at the big AGM where it would all get talked about and eventually voted on. Now, one of the rule changes was the introduction of another ensemble judge. Yes, so instead of having 2 piping, 1 drumming, 1 ensemble, it would be 2 piping, 1 drumming, 2 ensemble. Yes, now we honestly talked about this last week and thinking this was a brilliant idea. Why not shake up a judging system that has been in existence for over 50 years? This is a chance to change things. Well, it got voted down, unfortunately. Yeah. Now, as to the reasons behind this, there's been multiple different arguments behind the scenes. Apparently, at the AGM itself, now I wasn't there, but I am hearing of little rumours and things that's happened, that there was quite a heated discussion on this. There was a lot of heated debate and actually took quite a bit of time to get through this one. Some people becoming quite entrenched in their opinions. And there wasn't any shouting or arguing or nothing like that. Everyone was quite calm and putting their arguments across. But, yeah, there did seem to be vastly different opinions on this. Some bands were all for it, whereas some bands were thinking, we need to look at this more. I don't think the idea had been fully fleshed out and had their concerns, let's say that. So, as we can see now, as reported on pipesdrums.com, they have a full article up there about this. Yeah, that idea of introducing another ensemble judge into the circle was voted down by the membership. So, there we have it. The idea that we have been talking about on the podcast now for years was finally put forward for a vote and got voted down. So, will we see it return again? Not likely. I wouldn't think so. But things could change. If pipe bands out there do consider this over the period of this next 12 months and then think to themselves, well, you know what? Maybe that was a good idea. Well, you never know. The paper might be presented again at a future AGM, and we remain hopeful. But for now, the judging system we have and have had for 50 plus years will remain in place. Hey ho, live to fight another day. Another idea that was put forward by Closkelt Pipe Band was the audio judging. Yes, we spoke about this as well, where judges no longer have pen and paper to deal with. Instead, they have a headset and an iPad, and away they go. They can talk their way through the performance, giving a running commentary of what they're hearing, and then award a score, and it is all handled digitally. Yeah, removing any possible need for errors or things that we've experienced in the past, I guess. This was talked about at the AGM as well. Now, this is a new thing. It's technical as well. It involves using technology, I suppose. And, it seemed to be that the board of directors and some of the membership were fearful of this, let's say. Instead of voting it down altogether and chucking it out the door like the judging idea, they decided instead that perhaps more investigation is needed. A possible feasibility study is needed as well, along with costings and just how much all this stuff is going to cost. And then, a proposal then for possibly trialling this at like a minor competition, for example, to test the waters. So it isn't exactly chucked out the window, but it's kind of a slowly approach with this one. So they're being uber cautious, I think is what my notes say here. Being incredibly cautious with this one. It's new, it's scary, it's technology, and what happens if I press the wrong button? That kind of thing. Ourselves in the Rab Show, we absolutely love this idea. We've seen it being trialled across in the United States, and we've seen the results, that it was a roaring success. We spoke about this, of course, with a judge that actually used the system. Bob Worrell was on the show around Christmas time, and we asked him about the system, and he loved it. Now, granted, he did say it took a bit of getting used to, and it needed a bit of time to kind of get the handle on everything. But once that happened, and they were able to hit the ground running, I guess, then it was plain sailing. So, I'm hopeful on this one. I'm really glad it wasn't just shut down and chucked out the door. And this one I'm hopeful for. I do believe there are some real genuine benefits for using technology with judging. And hopefully it will eliminate a lot of the possible clerical errors that we have seen in the past. So also, those audio judging sheets will be a lot more decipherable rather than trying to read someone's handwriting and that has maybe been written in the middle of a monsoon. Yeah, you know those sheets I'm talking about, when the judge is having to write it onto that wee plastic cover in a pencil that hasn't been sharpened since 3 weeks ago in the lashing rain. You know the sheets I'm talking about? But to have a clear audio recording of the judge telling you, here, your opening rolls were terrible, fix them. You know what I mean? I just honestly think there'd be a lot of benefit to this idea. I can't really see many downsides. Obviously, there will be an initial cost to set that all up, but hey, it's plausible. On the topic of money. On the topic of money. This is a very interesting one. Now, I'm not going to completely quote verbatim from the pipesdrums.com article. Go and have a read at that. It does make for some very, very interesting reading. One of the points that was raised on this article, I don't know if this was actually true or not. I wasn't there. I can't verify it. But what it says here is that £120,000 to £160,000 is needed to run a major championship. That's a lot of money. 160 grand for a major. Wow. Okay, I have no idea what makes up that figure or who exactly is pocketing all that cash, but that's a serious amount of money. Anyway, that aside, that's a topic for another day, I have to say. Also, there was a chat about there is now £500,000 of available funds in the RSPBA's coffers. Yes, 500 grand now sits in the RSPBA bank account. That's $500,000. And when you consider that a major championship costs about 160, that's a lot of money. Could the RSPBA fund the running of a major themselves? That's an argument for another day. Anyway, the whole financial picture right now of the RSPBA, the association, does make for incredibly detailed and interesting reading. There's a lot of unanswered questions here. Why is that $500,000 sitting in the bank account? What will we be doing with it? Will that money go back to the bands? Bigger and better competitions with even greater facilities, and possibly online live streams. That would be a cool idea, won't it? We've seen other associations do it really successfully. So perhaps spending a bit in the marketing budget. Anyway, who am I to start spending £500,000 and start making suggestions as to what that money could be spent on? But yeah, whenever you read the Pipes Drums reports, there does need to be a certain amount of money held in the coffers to make the organisation viable. And we did manage to reach net zero, I think, in the account after we had the headquarters redevelopment fund. Ooh, do you remember all of that? Yes, when over £1.5 million was spent on the RSPBA headquarters refurbishing the building. Yeah, we spoke all about that. And there's questions still to this day about the tender process and all of that and how the contracts for the refurbishment were awarded. We've yet still to see that detail. Apparently that was requested. The bands did ask that question. And, we're still waiting on that detail. Anyway, so a lot of unanswered questions still remain about the headquarters redevelopment. Here we are in 2025, and would you imagine that I'm still bringing it up here in the podcast? Yikes. But yeah, AGM this past weekend was good news in some regards and bitterly disappointed in others, and just real confusion seems to reign, I guess. But yeah, we have an association that do appear to be quite reluctant to move forward with new and fresh and innovative ideas, especially the big ones. We are seeing some small innovations, I have to say, with other regards. With the likes of the schools and stuff like that. There's a lot of innovative work been happening there, and it's brilliant to see. And there's a lot of engagement happening at a school level and encouraging youngsters to come through. That's definitely a positive. So we are seeing a lot of positive work from that regard from the RSPBA. However, when it comes to big things like judging and all of that and how competitions run, the finances, all that kind of stuff, we are starting to see that the association perhaps, especially the board of directors, will be a little bit reluctant to move forward in that regard. Anyway, it made for a very interesting meeting. The Pipes Drums article was definitely also very interesting. There's been a lot of commentary on social media about it from a lot of keyboard warriors out there who have opinions about how the meeting went. I would urge you that if you are reading any of that online commentary, again, take it with a pinch of salt. Again, we would never actually know what happened unless you were actually there. There you are. So unfortunately, ourselves and Rab Show, we weren't there, so we can't exactly say with full confidence what happened. So yeah, we can just go by these online reports, I guess. There you are. Anyway, so it made for a very interesting meeting, a big talking point. I don't know, folks, it's been a real busy weekend in the piping world, and I'm nowhere near done. There has been a huge announcement online, I'm sure you've seen it by now, by the Glasgow Sky Association. Yes. As soon as I even mention that band, I'm sure you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. The Pre-Worlds concert has been announced. Yes, and this year, hitting the stage at the Glasgow Royal Concert Hall on August 13th will be Shots. Shots and Dykehead Caledonia have been busy preparing behind the scenes, and now with a brand new lead tipper behind the back line, David Henderson. So yeah, this is exciting for multiple different reasons. I think the last time we seen Shots on stage, we were talking about this last night, was at their Rise concert. That was under Ryan Canning at that time. And that was such a fantastic concert, honestly. We're still playing clips from that album today on our Fuse show. Yeah, all the way back in 2017. So, yeah, making a welcome return to the stage. And they're titled the concert Solace. Yeah, it's a brilliant idea, that. Brilliant title. So, honestly, we couldn't be any more excited for this. Honestly, right now, however, for the Shots band, in light of such exciting news, and we're starting to see ticket sales for this event absolutely fly off the shelves, by the way. So if you do want to get tickets for the Pre-Worlds concert, go now. glasgowlife.org.uk is where your tickets are. We've shared out the link, of course, but I don't think we need to. This event promotes itself and sells out every single year. Yeah, so we're very excited to see what the mighty Shots will bring to the stage. But as I said, in light of this incredibly exciting news for Shots, we also had the tragic news for their pipe major, Emmett Conway, who lost his father, Charlie. And again, this is such a bitter blow. Charlie was a huge character in the bagpiping world. I don't think there's anyone that didn't know about him, or know of him. Charlie honestly always had a story to tell, and yeah, as we've mentioned at the very beginning of the show, will be sorely missed by all of us. And this will be a bitter blow to everyone there at Shots. but also other bands throughout the years and decades that Charlie had been involved with. Of course, Ballinderry Bridge Pipe Band, and of course to the New Zealand Police and the Field Marshal Montgomery and so many others. Yeah, so we want to offer our sincerest sympathies to Kathleen, to Emmett, to Laura, to all of the Conway family at this time, honestly. Yeah, and we are so excited for this upcoming Solace concert, which will be enjoyable now for multiple different reasons. It'll be a huge moment for the Shots Pipe Band, of course, but also for Emmett Conway himself and for the entire family unit, I guess. So, folks, our advice right now is if you do want to go to that pre-Worlds concert and see Shots and Dykehead Caledonia thump out some big tunes at Solace, please go now. At the point of listening to my voice, if you can even pause the podcast right now, okay? Go along to the box office at the Glasgow Royal Concert Hall. Grab tickets for this. 13th of August. You will not want to miss it, all right? I keep telling everybody, every time the pre-Worlds concert gets announced, as soon as it gets published, buy your ticket, all right? Because I know there's ones out there that leave it till the day before. It never makes sense to me. You know, here comes the Tuesday of Piping Live week, and then my phone suddenly decides to blow up with people saying, Rob, could you get us a ticket for the concert hall, lad? No, I'm not the box office, and this concert has been sold out for weeks. So I have no doubts that Solace will absolutely sell out within a heartbeat. And yeah, you've been warned. Grab tickets for this right now. This event is going to be off the chain. It's just going to be such an amazing moment, and I definitely want to be there for it. And I'm sure you do too. So go and grab tickets for it right now. Shots and Dykehead in concert at the Glasgow Royal Concert Hall, 13th of August. This is going to be a very special moment for sure, and I'm really looking forward to it. All right, folks. Well, with that story, I'm going to wrap it up here at this point. Now, I'm very aware that there's tons of other news stories that we could have got into, but honestly, there was so much piping and drumming across this past weekend and so much to look forward to, I guess, with this incoming week, with St. Patrick's Day and all of that. There's so much that we could have got into in the news and updates, yeah, but we need to move on. If there is any news story, of course, that is glaringly obvious that we should have mentioned on this week's show, please do email us in, bigrabshow@gmail.com. That address again, bigrabshow@gmail.com, and we'll absolutely do our best to get it included in next week's show. All right, folks. Well, you guessed it. At this point of the pod, it's time for me to go and get myself a big cup of tea. It's time for the topic of the week. Kingdom Thistle Pipe Band Supplies. For all your pipe band and marching band needs. Supplying everything from uniforms and instruments to custom designed bass drum heads. They offer it all. Not forgetting their exclusive Kingdom Ghillie Brogues and George Boots, crafted by bands for bands. Kingdom Thistle provides expert product advice and an industry-leading drum refurbishment service to keep your equipment in top-class condition. Also, shipping worldwide. So, stop by their store in Fife or visit them online at kingdomthistle.com for all your pipe band and marching needs. Wallace Bagpipes. Quality, pride and passion. Made in Scotland. Proud bagpipe supplier to the Red Hot Chili Pipers. From the most basic of sets to the most elaborate, they have something for everyone. Also offering bagpipe repairs and restoration. From a simple makeover to a full overhaul. From a chipped mount to a complete replacement. Wallace Bagpipes have you covered. Visit wallacebagpipes.com for more information or contact your nearest dealer. Yes, indeed. Time for topic of the week. Have to say that cup of tea was well deserved there. Yeah, but let's get into it. The question that's being asked on this week's episode is, where are we now? Now, when you consider, we started this Big Rab Show podcast lark like years ago, and we did an episode like this way back, you know. Well, now we think that this is an opportune time to revisit this. Obviously, with everything that took place over this past week at the RSPBA AGM, it has resulted in a lot of the membership of the association to take stock and to actually look at just exactly where are we now, the state of the bagpiping game, especially the competitive game. And yeah, as we mentioned earlier in the show, things are definitely very healthy in New Zealand. Let's say that. So we'll be drawing from that example. But there are some negatives as well with what's happening at the scene right now and where we are, I guess. So, as always, we have made a hashtag list. It wouldn't be us if we didn't make a list. So, yeah, it's been a while since we've done a hashtag list show, but we thought that you folks would like to join in on the conversation with this. So, as we present to you our findings as to where we are now, both the positive and the negative, I would like you guys to join in on the back of it. And you can always email us in your thoughts on all of this, of course, bigrabshow@gmail.com. Address again, bigrabshow@gmail.com. We would love to know your thoughts on this. Now, we are going to start with the negatives. All right, I know that's not the best place to begin, but we feel that ending on the positives will certainly put us in a better frame of mind and looking ahead more positively for our scene for this incoming season and seasons ahead. But where are we now? Let's look at the negatives. First of all, of course, we mentioned it in our news and updates. We appear to have an association that is pretty well stuck in their ways. Yeah, or as some Rab Show team members have said, it's stuck in the mud, I believe. Yeah, sometimes, new ideas can be suggested and it just appears to get stuck in the bureaucracy. Getting it put through to a meeting and voted through and discussed and committee considers it and trial runs and all of the things that a good idea needs to run through for it to actually happen. The bureaucracy just seems to have gotten much, much worse. And the fear of anything new seems to be all the more prevalent. And we talked all about that, of course, earlier on, as we were talking all about the AGM. Yeah, about those ideas that went through and got shot down. Or kind of half shot down, I guess. So, yes, that's one of the negatives. We have, and has been the case now for this past decade or so, we do appear to have an association that is very difficult to move forward, I guess. With a new idea, a new innovation. Yes, we do understand that there has been some innovation and changes over the years, especially post-COVID as a result of building things back again. But yeah, there does seem to be that reluctance to step forward into the future. So, yeah, that's one of the things we had in our negatives. An association apparently stuck in the mud. What do we do to fix that, mind you? Don't know. That's up to you guys to decide. You can let us know your thoughts on that one. How do we address that? Another negative point as to where we are right now is something we've been noticing, especially since the pandemic rolled in 2019-2020, and that was a considerable drop in numbers in competitive pipe bands. Now, is this a direct result of the pandemic? That's arguable. Yeah, but it definitely is a considering factor. When we did mention this at the time, that a lot of bands would have found it incredibly difficult to build back after not being able to compete for a couple of seasons, both financially and, with their membership, also finding other things to do with their time, basically, with band practices not happening every week and with every competition not happening, then what is there to do? Oh, well, we can take up video gaming, we can take up, board games and stuff. I don't know. There's a million other different things you can do other than bagpiping. So, yeah, we have seen in recent years, and we've been reporting on it here on the show, about quite a dramatic fall in the number of competitive pipe bands in the circle. Now, that is recovering. We are starting to see some signs of bands getting back out onto the grass again, which is brilliant, but it is taking time. Last year's World Championships did seem to have quite a number of pipe bands at it. Yes, we reported that fact at the time. However, there is still down on pre-COVID years. So we are still rebuilding from that quite traumatic time for all of us in the bagpiping world and all of us in the world in general. So, yeah, we've definitely noticed a drop in competitive bands. But I'm hopeful. Yeah, let's move on. That's one negative we have. There's a lot less competitive bands out there, but we're hopeful that there will be more in future. Another negative as to where we are right now is, well, this is kind of off the back of the less competitive bands in the circle. I don't know if this is just me talking here, or this is just my own experience, but there's been a lot of people who used to compete at bagpiping and have now stepped away from competitive piping and drumming because, well, they're just simply jaded with the whole thing. Now, what I mean by that, by jaded, is that they're just absolutely cheesed off with all of the competition element of bagpiping. You know, the politics, what they call the game. You know, yeah, competitive bagpiping is its own scene, and yes, we talk a lot about the bagpiping politics that's involved in competitive piping and drumming. That's our bread and butter here in the show. Talk about it every week in the news and updates. What's going on, you know? So there are those out there that have just, over the years, just been ground down and just have become jaded with the whole thing. There's been so many people recently that I've been talking to, just this past few weeks, who have just said, you know, Rab, I've had enough. I'm hanging up the sticks. I'm throwing the pipes in the case. I'm not looking at them again. I'm going to take a break. Now, what normally happens with those folks who do take a break from competitive piping is they either step away from the music altogether, or that break does them a world of good sometimes. I have seen that too. So there are two sides to that coin, but there is always the risk that that person will just simply never return to competitive playing again, which, honestly, in our opinion, is a huge loss. The more people playing our music, especially competitively, then it could only, you know, facilitate the excellence of the music and the instrument. So, yeah, jaded competitors and having to step away because they're just simply tired of all of the intricacies, yeah, I guess, and the game, as they're calling it. I'm sure you're all probably knowing exactly what I'm talking about now. Yeah, just sick of all of it and just wanted to step away and perhaps get a new perspective on the music away, outside of the competition circle. Yeah, I'm sure you probably know a lot of competitors out there who are no longer competing for that very reason. Yeah, but it's just become more apparent to me recently that there seems to be a lot more people in that bracket. So, what can we do to fix that? Well, we can try and encourage them back again, you know? To let these people know that, hey, do you remember this thing you used to do that you used to really enjoy and give you a great buzz? Well, it's still happening, and it's still a lot of fun, so come on ahead. So, yeah, that's our job, to convince these folks to come back, I guess. Which is no easy task. All right, we do have more negative connotations as to where we are in the scene. Don't worry, there's plenty of positive, I have to say. But, yeah, as well as having less competitive pipe bands in the circle, less competitive members of those bands as well, because they're jaded with the whole thing, we're also noticing quite a considerable drop in footfall. Yeah, people attending competitions has took a real hit, especially post-pandemic. As we mentioned earlier, that has had a quite profound effect on our bagpiping world, and we are still rebuilding that. Now, yeah, the people who are attending competitions nowadays, in my experience, especially over this past couple of years, are all connected with the bagpiping world. They are all in that scene, around it in some way or other, but very rarely would you ever stumble across someone who's outside of the piping world attending a competition. Yeah, if it does happen, then brilliant. I'm all for it. You know, the more non-piping fans we can have attending our events, the better, in my opinion. We talked about that before in the show about outreach and everything. And yes, we absolutely should be encouraging more outreach where possible. But yeah, this last while, all we've been finding is it's mums, dads, aunts, uncles, yeah, grannies, grandads, cousins, all that. You know, they're all family members of competitors, you know, going to support their particular family member in the circle. Yeah. And then every now and again you would get a mate attending, or, you know, a next door neighbour perhaps, or something like that. Yeah. So we've definitely found that there is a reduction in footfall at competitions. Now, ourselves in the Big Rab Show, we were blamed at one time that live streaming of competitions was affecting football. We remember talking about this on the show at length. I'm sure you all remember #StreamGate whenever we were actually banned from live streaming at competitions, and the the outpouring of outrage from the bagpiping world after that. That's a moment in piping history I don't think I'll ever forget. But yeah, we were kind of held up as being responsible for the reduction in attendance at competitions. We were blamed and said, the Big Rab Show is live streaming it, so everyone is staying at home and watching it on their phones. Yeah, we've had this argument, of course, before, and thankfully, through a lot of negotiations, phone calls, emails, and engagement with our association, then, finally seen reason that perhaps we weren't to blame for the reduction in footfall. However, that's an argument that still continues to percolate in the background. I'm sure you might have noticed that over this past few seasons, we have not been live streaming at competitions. However, we have been recording and uploading, and that's simply because of quality purposes. We still get the question today, why aren't you live streaming a contest, Trab? Is it because no one goes to them? No, that's not the reason. We simply are not live streaming because of quality. We found that live streaming on social media, no matter what platform it is, the quality seems to be absolutely terrible. Because we're using cell phones to do it. Basically, we are not a professional live streaming company like we had at the New Zealand Nationals, who would obviously do quite a much better job. But unfortunately, we do not have the budget, the manpower, or the equipment to be able to do that. We're enthusiasts who bring our phones with us, and we decide to film pipe bands. That's the explanation behind live streaming. But at one time or other, it was blamed for the reduction in footfall. It has kind of came into the spotlight this last while, ever since Rodney Brownlee has been uploading a lot of his old historical videos of pipe band competitions gone by. A lot of them are minor competitions held here in Northern Ireland, and you would expect with a minor contest that attendance at those will be quite low. But what we're finding, the video evidence actually shows that the attendance at these competitions were insane. Some of the venues were absolutely ram-packed, and it was maybe the County Fermanagh Championships or the County Antrim or, any of those sort of local minor competitions here in Northern Ireland would have been absolutely rammed with people attending. They were piping fans, non-piping fans, and just everyone else aside. It was just a local event that everybody went to. But we've certainly found, I'm talking about Northern Ireland specifically, but across the water, of course, all over the globe even as well. We've seen quite a significant reduction in attendance at competitions. And that's an issue that I think we do need to address. Again, that subject of outreach. How do we fix it? We outreach. I guess we reach out to those folks who would love to see there and try and encourage them to come along. So, plus, of course, we can make our events a lot more fun and engaging and maybe have little side shows as well. And I guess some branches have been doing that this last while. Even the Northern Ireland branch, for example, have been doing a lot of Highland dancing and stuff like that and other little events and stuff all across the venue, which does make it more attractive for families and stuff. So, we are seeing evidence of that effort, So, that's all to be encouraged. But, we're definitely seeing a reduction in footfall at venues. Now, do I even need to talk about, we're on the subject of competitions, do we need to talk about 4 major championships this season? That's a big negative right there. The organisation of our major championships has taken a significant blow this year. We don't have our 5 majors this calendar, and we only have the 4. And even at that, one of those major championships is on quite a significant date for folks here in Northern Ireland. I seem to be referring to Northern Ireland quite a lot, don't I? But that will see quite a significant decrease in entries for the UK Championships. So 4 major championships with no 5th and no prospect of having a 5th either. So has only really served to highlight just how difficult these competitions are to arrange. And from what I've been hearing in the grapevine, the plans are currently underway for next season's major championships, but there's been nothing reported or confirmed as actually booked or in the calendar. Well, apart from the Worlds, I think, that's been confirmed. And maybe Dumbarton as well. I don't know. That could be stuff that Rab got wrong. You can correct me on that. But I do believe that those are the only 2 perhaps. This absolutely could be stuff that Rab got wrong, but that's just what I'm hearing on the grapevine. But yeah, that has been a particular highlight or low light, depending on what way you want to look at it. Yeah, that the organisation of major championships has been a significant challenge, and one of which that we really need to have a look at to see how are we doing this and can we do it better. Yeah. All right. One final negative that I do want to get into, and I don't think that we've spoke about this on the show just yet. We've been working on a bit of a story behind the scenes about manufacturing in the bagpiping world. What we've been finding in the manufacturing world, those producers of bagpipes, practice chanters, drums even for that matter, is that we're seeing quite significant increases in the cost of raw material. Now, I don't know if this has been widely reported on social media, but we have seen quite a trend now where a lot of manufacturers and distributors are seeing their costs increase exponentially. Now, that is not because of, shipping tariffs and stuff like that. It's nothing like that. It's all to do with the cost of raw material. Yeah, we've noticed that, especially in the case of African blackwood, which is seen as a rare wood, and you do need to have a specific license to actually work with it. We're seeing companies that do manufacture of blackwood instruments, that the cost of the raw material that comes in through the factory door has really increased. Yeah. Now, what happens when that cost increases? Well, either number one, the business tries to, take on the cost themselves and not pass it on to the customer. Or what has been happening, we have seen that bagpipes are only ever increasing in cost. Yeah. So what does the future hold for manufacturers in that regard? We don't know. We are starting to see that there are some manufacturers out there that are not able to sustain their business model as a result. Now, some may also shift focus from producing the high-end silver-mounted blackwood pipes to perhaps other different ideas, like plastic pipes, polypanko, for example. Other materials are available that can produce some real good tone. So we may well see a shift in the next 3, 4, 5 years if costs continue to increase the way they are. It's a very interesting story that. It is quite a negative one that's having a big impact currently on the availability of being able to buy an instrument. You can't just walk into your local bagpipe distributor anymore and say, "Hi, I want a set of blackwood pipes, fully mounted, set up and ready to play in a week's time," because the manufacturer would not simply hold that raw material in stock. It would need to be ordered, then, worked on. So, I don't know. It's a very interesting topic. We are currently developing that story ourselves here in the Big Rab Show. We will be bringing this to a future episode. But the cost of raw materials for manufacturers has increased significantly. Not just for pipes, I know I'm mentioning blackwood here, but also for drums, the likes of birch shells and stuff, and even some of the hardware pieces that you get on drums now, with the powder-coated stuff and all of that stuff has increased. There hasn't been one part of a drum now that has decreased, I have to say. All of your hardware, your shells, even your drum heads, the Kevlar that they're made out of, all of that has increased in recent years, especially post-COVID, and that cost is being passed on to the bands. And it's only ever a negative, really. But we're hopeful that things will start to balance out, and that hopefully these costs will start to decrease. But we'll keep across that. And we will be investigating this as part of a future episode of the podcast. And again, we would love to know your experiences on this too. Like we mentioned at the start of this week's topic, bigrabshow@gmail.com if you have any opinions or experiences on that one. It's an interesting one. All right. Enough of the negative. Let's get into the positive stuff, shall we? Come on. I'm always the optimist, and I do believe, after all of that negative we just spoke about, there's tons of positive things happening in the piping scene right now. Number one, top of the list, is that standards of music in the competition circle has never been higher. All right, now I will have an argument with anyone right now to argue that fact, and we've had that argument on Fuse FM a few nights now. Whenever we look back over the decades, everyone seems to think that their own particular decade was the best moment in piping. All right, piping from the 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, 2020s, where we are now. Yeah, everyone argues that their own particular era of piping is the best, and that this current era is terrible. Well, I have to say, yes, listening back to those performances over those decades, yes, I have to agree, there was some absolutely blistering moments. But, yeah, equally so, this era of bagpiping in the 2020s, some of the musical performances we're having in that competition circle, in all grades, not just grade 1, by the way, in all grades, are so impressive. Like, really, really impressive. Yeah, the level of musicianship on display here, it's honestly staggering. And, yeah, whenever you actually sit back and analyse it, don't just listen to your own band's performance or your own grade's performance, but listen to all other grades. You'd actually be really surprised with some of the standard of musicality on offer here, you know. And I guarantee, here we are now in 2025, heading into a new season, we'll still be looking back at 24, 23, 22, and looking at those runs and going, woo, they were good. Yeah, and we're still doing that on Fuse, as we are looking back at the 90s, 80s, 70s, whatever. I honestly do think, right now, in the 2020s, that standards have never been higher. And I'm content to have that argument with anyone. So bring it on. But that's definitely a positive, honestly. The music on display, absolutely brilliant. Can I also say then, you know, looking at the scene, particularly in New Zealand, but also locally here in the UK, there is a huge generation of young folk all coming through to hit the competition circle right now. I have to say, especially even with the schools contest that we mentioned earlier, you know, the amount of young kids that are involved in piping and drumming now is crazy. Compared to where we first started this podcast, when we were trying to encourage more young people to take up the instrument. Well, here we are now in 2025, and look at it. The amount of young musicians that are in that competition circle playing tunes that would absolutely melt your face. It's scary how good some of these young kids are. Seriously. And of course, I'm going to refer back to the New Zealand scene. Watching the Nationals at the weekend there. Oh my word. I could not get over the standard of some of the bands there and the age of their musicians. I know I shouldn't single that out, but come on. Some of these kids, man, were just incredible. And full credit to them, of course, for all their hard work, but to the tutors and the passionate people behind the scenes who teach these folks how to play. It honestly, it is fantastic. And that's definitely a huge positive to see that next generation coming through the ranks, you know? So, yeah, I'm all for it. And I will absolutely sing the praises of every school band, every youngster that decides to pick up the instrument and give it a try. Absolutely. There's never been a better time to get involved in piping, even at a young age. So, yeah, I think it's absolutely a huge positive. Another huge positive is technology. Yeah, piping technology, I would argue, has never been better. Especially over this past 5 years, we have noticed a huge amount of innovation in the bagpiping world. You know, that gone are the days of absolutely insisting on playing cane reeds and hide bags. Now there's so much choice on offer. Even with the drumming world as well. There's so many options now available to you as a snare drummer, tenor drummer, bass drummer. So many gadgets, gizmos, all sorts of things that make our piping life so much easier. You know, even down to like things like cases, carry cases for your pipes, for your drums, the Flam 5 cases. Come on, they're amazing. And yeah, let's not even talk about practice technology. Of course, the ES Session Chanter is an instrument in its own right. But yeah, taking that thing to band practice with you, it's just brilliant. The sound of it, oh man. Of course, the amount of technology available now, like a tuning app you can put on your phone. We've mentioned it before. And so, yeah, there's so many different innovations that have been happening in the piping scene. Honestly, the piping tech has never been better, you know. So for those of you out there who love gadgets, gizmos, all that kind of stuff, there's so much innovation happening with technology now. And yeah, it's definitely putting us bagpiping fans in a very positive place. So I'm all for it. I hope you are too. I would love to see more innovation in the bagpiping world. And yeah, I don't know. It's just never been better as far as piping tech is concerned. Yeah, fully synthetic reeds, synthetic bags, and then Kerr McQuillan's practice pad that attaches to your phone. What? Yeah, there's so much. It's just brilliant. All right, another positive. Well, as we've been mentioning, the New Zealand scene. Yeah, I have to say that international bagpiping is absolutely thriving. Yeah. When you consider our own scene here in the UK, of course, I talk about that a lot. And yes, it is in a positive way, seeing a lot of the young generation coming through. And yeah, it's ticking over. However, in New Zealand, Australia, Canada, and in parts of the United States, I have to say the bagpiping world is absolutely thriving. Yeah, even look at South Africa as well and their scene. The German scene as well, the Swiss, the Austrian. Are you kidding me? Bagpiping around the globe, honestly, is thriving, folks. Now, whenever we first started this podcast, it wasn't as healthy then as it is now. And that's the whole point in this pod, I guess. So whenever we first started this, the New Zealand scene was there, but it just wasn't on a par as to where it is right now. 2025 New Zealand Nationals, my word. I have no words. As simply as I mentioned earlier in the news and updates, that is absolutely fantastic. I'm pointing a finger at it and going, this, we need more of this. Yes, a shining example of how competitive piping and drumming can happen. And yeah, it's just brilliant to see. Also, the scene in Australia, Canada, as we've mentioned, all equally thriving with their domestic calendars. Just absolutely brilliant. So for the fans of bagpiping who believe it is just the UK and that's it, no, you couldn't be more wrong. There is so many international pipe bands now that are thumping out really big tunes, and I'll say it again, they will melt your face. All right? These bands, man, that can absolutely thump out a tune, and whew, yeah, I don't know. It's just been a real good time this last 5-6 years watching the international scene continue to grow and only ever get better. Yeah, I don't think they've ever once really taken a step back, all our different organizations. It's just been brilliant to watch. So, yeah, we'll continue following the international scene as best we can, of course. Things have wrapped up now in New Zealand, and I think Australia, they're going to be wrapping up shortly as well. As things then in Canada, US, here in the UK specifically as well, we start to get underway in May. So, yeah, we'll definitely be keeping across all of the developments internationally as they happen. Yeah, so I don't know. That's definitely a huge positive in our book, that the international scene is definitely only ever continuing to improve. Yeah. All right, now, I'm going to close off with one final positive you'll be glad to hear. Now, up until now, I'm sure you probably have disagreed with some of the things that I've said, whether being as positive or negative. I suppose it depends on your viewpoint. But, as always, email us in bigrabshow@gmail.com, and we'd absolutely love to hear your opinions on this. All right, one final positive for you. Piping coverage has never been better. What the heck do I mean by that? Right, well, again, if you consider, whenever we started this Big Rab Show podcast, we were one of the very few podcasts out there. I think there was us, there was the Grace Note Vortex that maybe had 1 or 2 episodes before us. There was a podcast called The Beer Tent as well, which sadly now no longer exists. There was The Pipe Rocket. I think that was another one that the Piping Centre did, but again, had sporadic episodes every now and again. And then, of course, the Chanterad lads came along, and then just over the years, everything just seemed to really open up a lot more. Yeah, we had the Droning On pod come across, then we have the Wee Two Twag pod as well, which talks about bagpiping history. That's fascinating. And then in recent years, we had Gary West and Enjoy Your Piping. What, a broadcasting powerhouse bringing bagpiping to podcast world. Absolutely. So, yeah, I believe that bagpiping coverage, especially in the realm of social media, YouTube, podcasting, which we're in, we honestly think there hasn't been a better time. If you type into YouTube bagpiping or pipe bands, you'll get so many results. Whereas back in the day, whenever we first started this, there wasn't as many. In fact, yeah, if you searched up for a bagpiping podcast, I don't think you would get too many results. However, nowadays, there's tons of them. Yeah, now we've neglected to mention there was the Lady Pipers podcast, which I don't think is in operation anymore, unfortunately. We also had the premiere bagpiping podcast, which was the Pod Band Pipecast, or was the Pipe Pod Band? I could never get that title right, and I don't do that on purpose either. Anyway, but yes, the Pod Band Pipecast, I think that's what it was. Yeah, they're no longer in operation, sadly, but there's tons of others as well. I don't know. They're, I say, bagpiping coverage across the media, social media, online has never been better. There's been tons of YouTube channels now, really, as a kind of an archive. Did I even mention Drone Chorus? Come on. His videos are insanely good. Yep, there's so many brilliant bagpiping channels that you should absolutely check out. So many social media platforms now, like We Love Pipe Bands and a slew of others, you know, that, yeah, there's a wealth of bagpiping content now online, whereas whenever we first started this, there wasn't as much. And honestly, we see that as a huge positive. You know, whenever a new podcast pops up talking about the bagpiping world, we get a lot of people saying, "Oh, Rab, here's someone here that's going to be way better than you guys. Are they your competition?" No, there's no competition. We're not trying to compete. We're just trying to support our scene in the best way possible. So, in our opinion, the more people talking about it, the better. You know, of course, there's Andrew Douglas and the Piper's Dojo and their weekly podcasts as well. And the wealth of great stuff they're putting up across their socials and on TikTok and all of that. Oh, absolutely brilliant. Yeah, there hasn't been a better time for bagpiping in social media, online. Just the coverage is absolutely everywhere. Where do we see it developing in future? I don't know. Look at what New Zealand were doing with their online live stream. That was all done through their YouTube channel. Like, that would have been unheard of back in 2016, 2017, whenever we first started this. So, yeah, we honestly think that piping coverage has never been better. The engagement that we see online with piping content is also on the increase. Just look at Piper Alley, for example. You know, we had her on a previous show there a while ago, and the amount of followers she has is in the millions. Like, not even the thousands. We're talking millions here. It's kind of scary. So, yeah, crazy numbers, all enjoying bagpiping. So, yeah, we absolutely believe that's a huge positive. And, yeah, should only be embraced and developed further, I reckon. But, hey, that's our opinions. So, yes, if you're out there and wanting to start your own piping podcast, but you've been holding off because you don't want to compete with Big Rab, I've been hearing that. There's been a few people that says, "Oh, I really wanted to start a pod, Rab, but I didn't want to compete against you guys." You're not competing. No. Tell you what, if you do start a podcast, let us know about it, and you can come on our show and talk all about it. I've done that before, actually. I think we had Gary West on our show with the Grace Note Boys on. We had Jim, of course, from Droning On. Absolutely. Yeah, I honestly believe the more folk we have talking about piping and drumming, the better. There's no competition here. We're all fans of this music. We're trying to support our scene and its musicians. And that's why we're here, you know? So it's all for the love of the music and that competition. Nah. All right, that's it for the positives. We honestly do believe there are possibly a little bit more positives than negatives at the moment. All right, now I do know that we sometimes dwell on the negatives whenever it comes to the news and updates and topics of the week, but that's because they're interesting. They're interesting dilemmas and how we're going to fix things. As for the positives, they're going well, and we've nothing to fix over there. We just need to do more of the good stuff, you know? So that's perhaps why they get a little bit more of a focus on the show here. So do you agree with our hashtag list? You know, the negatives that we all listed there. You know, associations stuck in the mud, the drop-in bands, jaded competitors, less attending contests, only having 4 majors, and of course the increase in cost and raw material. Or do you love our positives, which is standards have never been higher? The young generation coming through are brilliant. Piping tech has never been better. The international piping scene is thriving. And of course, piping coverage has never been better either. There you are, summarised for you. Yeah, let us know your thoughts and opinions, and I'm no doubt we'll probably revisit this again on a future show. Yeah, bigrabshow@gmail.com. That address again, bigrabshow@gmail.com. There you are. Well, folks, that's it for another Big Rab Show podcast. I have to say a huge thank you for everyone for downloading this week and each and every week. And don't forget to tell your mates about our wee show, about what we're doing over here, talking about what we know and love to be the music of the great Highland bagpipe and its people. And yes, we'll be back again next week for even more bagpiping goodness. So, until then, yeah, we'll see you all in the next one. All the best.
Well, that's it for another Big Rab Show podcast. Thanks so much for downloading this week, and a special thank you to our sponsor, G1 Reeds. Played by bands around the world, they are the champion's choice. Check out g1reeds.com for all of your piping needs. Don't forget to check out thebigrabshow.com to be kept up to date with all of the latest news and views from around the piping world. And also, check us out on Patreon. For $5 a month, you can get your hands on tons of extra piping goodness and be a part of the Patreon faithful. So, until next week, folks, we'll see you right here on the Big Rab Show Podcast. All the best.